Hello, and welcome to Come Play With Us, a spooky storytelling podcast. My name is Leela, and I'm joined by my evil twin,
Ruby. We're actually both the evil twin. We're both writers with non-writer day jobs. We believe in the power of great storytelling, so we've invited guests with the challenge of weaving a tale about real-life hauntings and paranormal activities with the sole purpose of scaring the shit out of us.
We'll rate them to see how they've done. Our ratings go a little something like this: scared shitless, some chills, and I think I'll be able to sleep tonight. Today, we have our repeat guest, Stephanie, on to hopefully scare us shitless again with her creepy tale that I don't know too much about. So we have the element of surprise. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to say hi to the listeners?
Hi, listeners. I'm really excited to be on again and feel like there's a lot of pressure this time because I was given the assignment of Robert the Doll the first time I told a story, and this time I got to pick the story myself. So I did a lot of digging, read a lot of different stories, and I think I picked a good one. So I'm excited to share this tale that I
Good. I think the reason we assigned you Robert the Doll is because I just knew you. I just felt like you would be perfect to tell the tale of a haunted doll. So
I've seen a replica of him at the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas, but not the real one. The real one's in Key West. So this also kind of inspired by travel. I'm going to Ireland soon, so I was like, it would be fun. How about I find an Irish ghost story? So that was where I began my research process.
So funny you said that, Stephanie. My friend Renata, who I think you've met before, and she's a guest of the pod. She got me this book. Let me show you. I just woke Gizmo up. She's like really pissed at me now because I made a noise. But she got me this. It's Doyle Presents Tales of the Other World, and it's a frightful collection of Irish ghost stories.
Fun. Well, I wonder if this one's in there.
What's it called? Oh, wait, okay. When we're done, I will look it up in the book. But it's got a lot of stuff. And Anne Doyle is, I think she was like a presenter. Yeah, she's a former journalist, broadcaster, and newsreader, a face and voice known around the country for fronting RTE's news. So yeah, Stephanie, if you don't have anything more to add, just feel free to take it away.
No, I'm excited to just kick it off. So again, thank you for having me on again. And today I'm really excited to tell you both about one of the most infamous hauntings in Irish history, the story of the Cooneen Ghost House in Northern Ireland. So in the early 1900s, Bridget Murphy's husband passed away in a freak accident, leaving behind not only his wife, but 7 children, 6 of whom still lived at home, 5 daughters and a son. Home, in this case, was a cottage in the woodlands near Cooneen, County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland, a cottage that still stands today, but I will come back to that. So not long after her husband's death, Bridget and her children began hearing knocks on the door, but when they'd opened it, no one would be there. And then they began hearing footsteps in the cottage's hayloft, but when they went up to investigate, the loft would be empty. Soon, there were knocks on the windows and the walls, and it got so bad that they actually asked all their neighbors to come over just to see if they too could hear all of these weird noises. Now, I don't know what answer they were hoping for, but this is the one they got. They were not imagining things. The neighbors could hear everything too. So the cottage is known as the Cooneen Ghost House, but as it turns out, that's not actually an accurate description. The Murphys were not being haunted by a ghost. A ghost is the spirit of a person who has passed. What the Murphys had was a poltergeist. Should we wait for Ruby to come back?
Yeah. We'll just repeat the last part.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with her, but this is happening to my friend Jacqueline, and it was the same thing where she'd disappear and be like, "But I can hear you guys. You can't see or hear me." And then I'd get her recording saying hello, hello later on. I had to like edit that out. Yeah, she's like, "Hello, you can't see me, you can't hear me." Is Ruby in the room with us?
Now it's like a seance.
Yeah, now we're just gonna conjure her. I'm gonna light some candles, conjure her back. Have you ever done a seance before?
I have not. No.
Oh my God, would you be? I don't think I'm brave enough for that.
I think I could. I could do a seance. I went on a ghost tour once in Georgia, and we walked by this house, and they were like, every person who like basically ever sat in this chair died. And my friend was like, I would sit in this chair. And I'm like, you would sit in the death chair? I would not sit in the death chair. Like, that is a risk. That is a choice you are making.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I think I've heard about a death chair. I think I've heard about one where it was like anyone who'd ever sat in this chair had something really bad happen to them. It was like a cursed chair.
Yeah.
Wow. Ruby said her whole laptop is frozen. Her computer just restarted on its own. I think she's haunted.
Okay, we're all back.
Yeah, Stephanie took a bathroom break, so we're good.
I was here, I was listening, and you said these weren't ghosts, these were poltergeists, and then all of a sudden you guys like, should we wait for Ruby to come back? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm right here. And it's like nothing, and then my screen is just frozen, and my entire computer is frozen, so I couldn't move the mouse or anything. And then there was like a white flash, and it just went black, and then it turned back on. I'm like, for some reason, I'm just inviting all the spirits and poltergeists.
Yeah, you have a haunted laptop.
Well, it's also 10 years old, so yeah. But
yeah, but it's funny. Ruby and I keep finding, like, whenever we do these recordings, we keep having weird technical difficulties that we don't usually get. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. It is like, it's definitely, you know, like, I feel like when you really dive in and talk about these things, you're kind of opening a door. And with, you know, like the last story I told, where the electronics keep going haywire in like haunted rooms, it's, I don't know, maybe there's a connection there. There's probably definitely a connection, because like the spirit box uses technology for spirits to speak to you. But yeah, anyway, all right, so these weren't just ghosts, these were poltergeists.
So a poltergeist is also a spirit, but not one that used to be alive. This means that poltergeists aren't hindered by any ghost rules. They're a very physical presence. They can move objects, they can bite or pinch or hit, and of course they can make noise. Actually, the word poltergeist comes from the German words poltern, to make sound, and geist, ghost, literally a noisy ghost. But unfortunately for the Murphys, their poltergeist didn't stop at knocks on the door and footsteps in the loft. Soon the haunting had escalated. Plates would fly from the table and smash against the walls. Beds would levitate several inches off the ground before crashing back down. And so Bridget did the only thing she could think of.
I got chills when you mentioned the bed levitating off the... Oh, I don't know why.
I mean, that's supposed to be your safe space, right? You go to bed.
I think about my bed levitating all the time. Like, I'm like, the last thing I need is a big truck to go by outside, and then for me to feel a little like vibration, and then be like, great, I'm possessed. It's the exorcist now. Great.
So Bridget went to the church. Now, there are varying accounts of how many priests showed up to the Murphys' cottage, but all agree that one of them was Father Eugene Coyle. And so seriously did he take the situation that with him was actually a member of Parliament, Cahir Healy. When they arrived at the house, they saw all the Murphys had experienced and more. They saw shapes appear and disappear on the walls, pots and pans fly across the room. One account talks of how when Father Coyle sat on the bed, he saw and felt shapes like eels move under the sheets and attempt to grab his wrist. They noted that the hauntings grew worse among one of Bridget's daughters, Annie in particular. When Bridget laid on the bed, it shook and levitated slightly. When Annie laid upon it, the shaking grew more violent. Because of these prominent witnesses, the story became very well known. The haunting was covered in all the newspapers, and the church granted permission for not one, but 2 exorcisms to be performed in the house. Now, for those of you who don't know, there are far less real-life exorcisms than horror movies might have you believe, at least far less officially sanctioned ones. So the approval has to come from high up in the Catholic Church, and only it's after it's been determined that there's no other natural explanation for the haunting or possession. For this reason, there are very few priests who are even allowed to perform exorcisms, and so the Murphys' case was truly extraordinary. In fact, the Cooneen Ghost House is believed to be the only house in Northern Ireland where an exorcism has ever taken place.
So just to go back, so basically the Catholic Church would want to debunk things first before going the exorcism route. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And still today, I mean, you can still get exorcisms today, but they are very much, there's only a few people who are authorized to do them. They're always looking to debunk. But so the fact that they approved an exorcism was a very big deal, but not only one, but two. So yes, it's the only private house in Northern Ireland where an exorcism has ever taken place. So again, you would think this would be a victory, but neither exorcism worked. And from then on, things got much worse for the Murphys. Not only were they still being tormented by a poltergeist, but because the exorcisms had failed, neighbors started believing that the Murphys must have brought this on themselves. Rumors began to spread that Bridget's son had found a satanic book in the woods called the Legions of Doom and had been practicing witchcraft. They claimed he had intentionally summoned this force now tormenting the family. Whether it was the rumors, the poltergeist, or more likely a combination of both, the Murphys couldn't handle it anymore. And in 1913, Bridget moved her family to America. The poltergeist came with them.
I was gonna say, like, bringing. I wonder if Ellis Island, you know how they had a checklist and they're like, do you have fever? Have you had measles? Do you look sick? Are you bringing any poltergeists or demons?
Like...
Are you bringing any hauntings with you to this country? Okay.
Okay, and also, like, I've noticed a lot of more horror movies now. They'll be like, hey, if you leave, it'll follow. I think it was like in The Conjuring. They're like, look, it's attached itself to you. Was it Insidious?
It was a little boy.
Insidious. It was like, it's attached itself to you. So wherever you go, it's going to follow you. I hate to say that I like that, but it's like, you know, you're not safe anywhere. And I'm saying this in my darkened apartment alone, but with this furniture and footsteps moving up above me. But okay.
So it is actually well documented that the captain of the ship they took to New York threatened to throw them off the boat if they didn't stop the racket in their cabin, a knocking on the walls that have been plaguing them for upwards of a decade at this point. And the poltergeist didn't stop once they settled in New York City. So nice little hometown call out here. One of Bridget's daughters, presumably Annie, though it doesn't say in the accounts, but was so distraught at the seemingly endless haunting that she spent the rest of her life in a mental hospital. One account notes that Bridget's son, exhausted from the constant noise, stepped onto the street in a haze of fatigue and was killed by a hansom cab. Maybe the poltergeist was finally satisfied after causing these tragic events, or maybe the Murphys grew too weary, or maybe the poltergeist simply became homesick. Because after a couple of years in the Big Apple, the haunting suddenly stopped. The Murphys were never again bothered by the poltergeist, but the same can't be said for their original home. So the Cooneen Ghost House still stands today. Some brave, or reckless, depending on your point of view, visitors see witch lights on the property, or have trouble breathing, or see figures out of the corner of their eye that disappear when they turn to look. In spite of this, in the 1990s, the Cooneen Community Development Association toyed with the idea of making the Murphys' cottage a tourist attraction. A plan that quickly fell through when the local priest warned them that bad things were likely to befall anyone who disturbed the house. The idea was brought up again, though, in 2016, when the Northern Ireland Forestry Service cut back the trees around the house, revealing the cottage for the first time in many years. But nothing has come of it yet, which, if you ask me, is probably for the best. I love a ghost tour, but it's partly because you feel safe again once you return home. While it's true that the poltergeist seems to have an attachment to the Murphys' cottage, it's not bound to it. It's literally crossed an entire ocean before. So for me personally, I will be staying well away, because if the Cooneen ghost takes a shine to you, there is no guarantee of escape.
Ooh.
Well,
now let me see if it's in this book.
Well.
Oh, so these are, I think these might be fictional because it says
Oh.
The Canterville Ghost, Oscar Wilde, The Curse of the Fires and the Shadows, W.B. Yeats, Bram Stoker.
Oh, so maybe it's like Irish
Oh, that sounds
authors who
fun.
have written.
Yeah, hold on. What
Wait, Bram
county?
Stoker was
Fermanagh?
Irish?
He was.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you now because we've got like little. Born in Dublin, Ireland, during his lifetime, he was known for being the personal assistant of actor Sir Henry Irving. However, posthumously, he is most known and celebrated for his influential Gothic horror novel Dracula.
I learned this at the Leprechaun Museum in Dublin.
In Dublin, yeah.
Speaking of
And
Dracula, I still need to watch The Last Voyage of Demeter, which is on demand. And that movie was made basically for English major nerds. So
English
Yeah.
literary nerds.
Yeah.
And Dracula was inspired by John Polidori's novella The Vampyre, which was written early 1800s. I don't know when.
And also by his mother's stories of a plague she survived when she was a child, when they would, very ahead of their time, kind of realized how contagion worked. And so they started burying people alive so they wouldn't spread the plague. Yeah.
I like how it started off so promising, where you were like, oh, they figured out how contagion works. And then rather than quarantine, they just buried them alive. I was like, oh, you're really forward thinking. Oh, never mind. 50 million steps backwards.
Yeah.
And I think there was this one story of like early people who have been accused of being vampires and they died and they were buried, but then for whatever reason, if it was like grave robbers or for whatever reason their graves were reopened, it's like their bodies would be engorged with blood. And then like obviously modern day, it's like, well, that's what happens to dead bodies. But you know, some of them would have like blood on their mouths or clothes, and it's like, well, that's decomposition. But back then it was like vampire, you know.
I feel like there was a woman.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think it was like
story
in
of a
Eastern
woman.
Europe, yeah, who she was like a well-known vampire, and then they like dug up her body, or I don't know, some new. It was something I felt like it was more new that happened. That they found her grave. I don't know.
There
But
was a new one where they found a grave where it was clear that they were buried in a way that they believed that these people were revenants. I read this in the news like a few months ago. But they were buried in a certain way so that if they came back, they couldn't kill you, basically.
They're like basically buried like face down or something, right?
So that they can't climb, there's like some
out.
way that like it was separate, like the bodies were like separated from like, so yeah, it was very creepy.
Speaking of revenants, I don't know if you've ever watched True Detective, Stephanie, but I forced myself through the first season of True Detective. Unpopular opinion, I just did not enjoy it. And then third season was, I thought, an improvement. But the fourth season now, I skipped the second season for its notoriety of being just terrible. So I just didn't want to waste my time. But the fourth season, it is more, it's like they're kind of leaning it. There's like this mythology of a potential cult or something that's kind of weaved into the first three seasons. I don't know if I like that. I would have liked it if there were more unique stories, but it kind of takes a supernatural tone in season 4. And it's in this town in Alaska that's like in the Arctic Circle. So when night falls, it falls for a few months. So the night has just fallen, and it's like people are seeing revenants here and there. And the townspeople are like, yeah, that's normal. Like during the long night. Yeah, they're like, during the long night, it's just, you know, the line between the living and the dead just kind of gets murky, and so it's like almost like a known thing. And I have 2 episodes left. The show's already like, it's already done for this season, but I still am like behind 2 episodes, the 2 last episodes, and I don't know how it's gonna end. But I like that. That's kind of like, oh yeah, that's normal. Like, you know, you see a woman and she sees like her dead, you know, ex-lover, and she's like, hey Travis, you know, and he's just like out on the ice. But or maybe his name is Travis, I don't remember. But I don't know if they're gonna like follow that thread, and I actually like if they don't. That sort of like the backstory of this town, you know, in Alaska in the Arctic Circle is that, oh yeah, you know, it's just, that's what happens. You know, we see the dead, when the long night falls. I don't know. I love that.
Okay, so just a reminder of what our ratings are. We have our lowest rating, which is I think I'll be able to sleep tonight, which I have gotten in the past from my friend Jacqueline. I was gutted, but anyway, that's the no harm in getting that rating, but that exists. And then we have our medium rating, which is some chills, and then we have our highest rating, which is scared shitless. So, Ruby, who wants to go first? You want to do paper, rock, scissors? Can't even see you. So,
why don't you go first?
Okay. I want to say that when we were hearing about the sort of activity, paranormal activity that was going on, I was worried that we were going to go into demons realm. But because we went into poltergeist realm, that changed my opinion, because with demons, I'm a little skeptical, because it always feels like it's like the same four. Like there's one called Zuzu, who's just there's just so many stories about this one. I think it's Zuzu. I might probably butchering it. Now the demon's gonna visit me.
Wait,
but,
is it the one that's like in Exorcist?
No,
like Pazuzu or something? What is it called?
No, but
Just
it's
making
like
names
that.
up now.
It's not Zaza. It's definitely Zuzu. It's something like that, but it's this one that's like in so many documented cases of demonic possession. But I will say that poltergeists scare me more than demons. And so my rating is scared shitless. And I'll tell you why. And it's not just because we're good friends. But it's I think what really got me was the fact that it traveled over with them. And I think when we see like a horror movie and it's like, no, you can't just move out, or no, you can't just, get an exorcism. This thing has basically attached itself to you. And the fact that the captain was even experiencing it secondhand, that really creeped me out. And I think the reason too is that when you're in a haunted house, let's say, the hauntings are basically all happening within your four walls, right? And it's happening in a contained way. But when the haunting leaves, then it's like anything is possible. It can do anything. It will do anything to torment you. And I think that really creeped me out, the fact that it basically traveled over with them, tormented them, and then basically was like, let me go back to this house and stay haunting this house. I think the fact that it had so much free will and wasn't just contained to a house, it wasn't just contained to a ship, was basically unrestrained, I think really creeped me out. So that's my rating.
That's actually why I picked this story, because that's really what scared me when I was reading all these ghost stories. It's like, oh, you can visit this ghost here, you can visit this ghost there, but it's like, if you go here, you might take it home with you. Like, that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish that there was a rating between some chills and scared shitless, because
You can do that.
some shit or
some shits.
And I think and maybe we'll create a new sound for that for this one. But I just think, because I'm just so distracted right now, so it's really hard for me to really kind of stay focused. I think just my computer, the fan has been blowing this entire time, and now it's saying there's 16% battery. So now I'm gonna go walk over to the table. But I think I'm just so distracted that it was really hard for me to really stay focused. There's not anything on you or your storytelling at all, Stephanie. I just think that the times I keep getting booted off and stuff. I did start to get really scared when Leela mentioned the whole thing about, the fact that we do this, that we are kind of opening a door. That part scared the shit out of me. And then when we were talking about poltergeists, and then there's some poltergeist-like activity above my head, that did. But I guess for me too, I feel like I'm just not going to visit this house. Well, like, I don't have to worry about taking something. Like, if you're telling me that someone brought something over from this house and then it went did what it needed to do, and then it went back. Well, then I'm just not going to visit the house. Like, that's it. And so I like feel protected, like how you guys were saying before. And so that's where like my some chills are. But I will say generally, I'm actually just really creeped out in my darkened apartment, because we keep talking about these doors that are opening up that we do. And I don't know, like,
Listen,
I just feel like
it came to New York before. It can come to New York again. Like, it
don't do this to me, Stephanie.
back to a place it knew. And you know what else it knows? The Big Apple.
It's like I've been here before. It's
It
like
has a
come back and
ghost
be like,
passport.
oh, it looks different here. I don't like what you guys did. Yeah,
How
don't
fun
do
would
this to
that
me.
be though if it was like a Beetlejuice kind of like under like otherworldly kind of, you know, he's like in this otherworldly waiting room, and what if there's like this otherworldly airport with like you get your little ghost visa stamped and you can kind of, you know, go from country
Like,
to
I'm sick of
country.
being alone in the woods. Give me people. Let me really cause.
Yeah, I want to feed on some fear.
And that's another thing too, is like I can't describe how I feel. Like I can't say I have some chills or I'm scared shitless. Like I just feel like a general discomfort. You know, which one could say happens when a spirit is around, which now means I'm scaring myself. But yeah, I just have this like a discomfort. Like I almost feel like I'm claustrophobic in my own home, or I feel kind of boxed in. And it's definitely that claustrophobic feeling from your story of you can't leave this thing. You can't shed it. It will come and find you.
I'm
So
going to call that a win in my book, regardless.
I think it is. I think it is a win. I think that you definitely brought the spirits to my home and to my laptop. So you should definitely call it a win for sure.
A short one, but a good one.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So thank you so much to Stephanie for joining us and scaring me shitless and partially scaring Ruby shitless, plus giving her some chills.
And a general feeling of discomfort and a feeling that there is a spirit in my home.
Yeah. And helping us continue to open this door that we keep slowly opening with our with our podcast episodes. Every episode something happens.
Your mid rating is like lingering unease. Because like
Yeah.
a chill you get and it goes away, but right, like a lingering unease could be that.
Like this is an unease that will probably stay with me for a little while. And the door, for some reason, I just feel like it just keeps opening into my apartment. So
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna go take a shower after this. Like now, like did I open in the shower? Because now I'm creeped out. It's such a vulnerable activity to do after this.
It is. There's a lot of horror movies. The person's in the shower because you're very vulnerable there. You know.
I also hear
Yeah.
noise in my apartment, and now but to be honest, I'm mostly concerned that I might have locked one of my cats in the closet.
Oh.
Which we do all the time, and then we hear forlorn meow. And then we have to go follow the noises, and then free whichever cat did that.
But if you never hear from me again, I'll be confident, like, what cat did I lock in here? And you'll know what happened to me.
Oh my God, that's so scary. Don't say that.
That's how they lure
scary
you.
thing to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us at podcomeplayWithUs@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from our listeners. So if you have real life ghost stories or paranormal encounters and you think it'll scare the shit out of us, please send them in. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.